Hello everyone, Udit Josh here at NAB 2024. I'm here with Dave Dougall, VP of Sales, International and Production Solutions. Dave, it's wonderful to see you.
And you. Good to meet you.
How has the show been so far?
It's been good. It's pretty steady, pretty much what we expect. This show here, I mean, it's an ideal place for us to meet all the key broadcasters. I mean, internationally, this is the biggest show for us. And we get to see all of the main customers here at this show, which is really good.
Yeah, it feels like the first big show after COVID. And I have to ask, do you see any difference in the industry from like pre-COVID to post-COVID? How do you feel about that?
Pre to post, I mean, there's a lot more emphasis, and there's still a lot of emphasis on remote production. I mean, pre-COVID, or COVID really pushed the remote production envelope, and that has stayed. You know, we hear a lot about broadcasters having to justify more about how, if they want to travel, if they want to take an OB truck out, why can't you do it remotely? And the other big change is that, for some reason, during COVID, all of a sudden everybody accepts the quality of Zoom calls. Before, you have a TV station that would send out its anchor news, and they'd send out the ENG truck and all likes and stuff. Now they're quite happy to accept it from a Zoom call, which is quite interesting.
I've seen even shows like that This Weekend Tonight with John Oliver. There was a time where he did everything at home.
Yeah, so that is a big change in the industry since COVID. And the other, I suppose, as you look at the industry changing, software as a service is becoming really quite big in this industry.
That's really interesting. Tell me more about that.
So, I mean, even things like, we're now doing our auto script and auto queue prompting systems. We've moved to more of a perpetual license rather than people, buying the equipment and owning it. They're more inclined to be able to take it as a service and pay towards licenses. And when you look at your own domestic life, everything is now subscription based.
Yeah. Why do you think this is happening? I'm curious.
I think it's by stealth. You look at your bike statement, and you think, 99p to subscribe to Apple to store your photographs. You don't think anything about it. But then when you look at all the subscriptions that you have, it mounts up. You think, wow, I'm paying a lot of money for all those subscriptions, and it's just easy. It's easier. I
mean, from a producer standpoint, a lot of the time it's easier to pay as you go than to hand out a big chunk in advance. Yeah. So that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, companies are wanting to be more OPEX orientated than a CAPEX. But it's interesting because it's not all over the world. It's a lot of Asia and the Middle East, they want CAPEX, whereas a lot of the Western countries like the US and Western Europe are all moving to more OPEX models. So that's right. You've got to have a balance between there. So.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, from your stand, you have a pretty high vantage point on the industry. I wonder what other changes you're seeing, just not related to COVID in general. Well, where are the trends going?
Well, like I said, I mean, a lot of it is remote production. The other big trend is towards automation. So, we're seeing a lot of companies investing in automation where they are what I would classify as spend to save. So they're spending on automation so they can save on the labor. But again, that's quite a Western trend because labor is quite expensive.
It's interesting because you're saying on the equipment side, we're going OPEX, but that sounds like we're going CAPEX on the actual production.
Yeah, well, just a CAPEX, OPEX sort of, again, if you look at some of our new technology we've brought out is on the Vinton Vega, is something called presenter tracking. So rather than having a human body moving the robot, the AI intelligence is following the talent, and so you can get
So one less operator.
One less operator. And the same with voice prompting. The operator would actually probably have someone in the gallery scrolling the text for them, or indeed maybe even with a wireless controller themselves. Now with the our AutoScript voice, well, again, cost saving in terms of people, they don't need it. It scrolls automatically. It follows your voice, and it can even ad lib. So if I'm reading the script and I break away from the script, it will stop. And then when it gets 25% again of the content they're talking about, it jumps back in, which people like. Because they don't need to, follow the script verbatim. They can actually.
So this is interesting. So I think a lot of the times when people talk about AI, they think generative AI, like text to audio, text to video, text to image. But there's also a lot of AI in the product that we're making.
Yeah. I mean, there's very complicated algorithms to do the presenter tracking. The simple stuff that you get in the industry, kind of simple, is quite complicated, but facial recognition is one of the things that people think is what is going to identify you. But with our presenter tracking, it's actually not only facial recognition, but your poise, how you move, how you sit. It tracks all these different elements. So it can track you even if it doesn't see you.
It's really interesting. That makes me wonder. We're seeing a lot of movement upwards in the creator realm, where creators are pushing the envelope and getting more and more out of their gear. Are you seeing anything similar on the high end, where maybe people need less gear or less trucks behind them to generate content with too?
I think there's a lot of multifunctional equipment coming in, but I don't think that people are necessarily using less equipment. They're using smarter equipment, is what I would say.
Interesting. Tell me more. That's really interesting.
Well, smarter equipment. I mean, even simple things like our Flowtech tripod. Okay, so
which we are using right now.
Correct. One of the things about the Flowtech is that it can be multifunctional in terms of it can go really, really low. So you don't need to carry your, a small, tabletop tripod anymore. That Flowtech system will go completely flat. So you can use it as a tripod or as a mini pod. So one piece of equipment. A lot of the lights that we have now are so bright. The new Astra IPs, you don't need to have several lights with you anymore. You got one light that does a multitude of functions.
And that translates to less steam, less electricity, less setup time.
Yeah. The Flowtech, the whole thing around Flowtech is about its speed. And as you were talking earlier on, you see Flowtechs all around sporting events because it's fast.
You would see a row of those tripods.
Yeah, because you get one shot, right? You've got to be there and you've got to be quick. We're seeing a lot of trends from that point of view. And it isn't less equipment. I suppose it is less equipment, but it's more multifunctional equipment. People are looking for things that can be adapted to use in many different applications.
So is this transition to more advanced equipment or more multitasking equipment, what are the big challenges that you're seeing?
Cost.
Obviously.
The more complicated it is, the more it costs. And, people are becoming a lot more cost conscious in the equipment they're buying. Everyone's, cost conscious. So making things reliable, making it high quality, and being able to make it cost effective is a challenge, and it's something that we certainly when you look at manual supports, because they're actually quite labor intensive when you build them. You're not doing an electronic production line of thousands of Raspberry Pis rolling off the production line. You've got to mill these the milling machines and craft them and put them together. So it is labor intensive, which is a challenge. It is a challenge.
And I wonder, like, was the stuff that we had with COVID and now with some of the stuff in the Middle East, are you facing any logistical challenges with moving stuff around, getting stock in place?
Only if you have to go through the Red Sea. so yeah, it's a bit of a challenge now. You've got 10 more days for shipments. For us, a lot of our equipment, if you look at the manual supports, is actually made in the UK or Costa Rica. So that's we haven't seen a lot of changes from COVID. But obviously, we do have manufacturing for some of our electronic-based products in Thailand and China. So that has been a bit of a challenge. I think we're through most of the challenges of COVID, though. Just after COVID, component shortages was a huge headache, and we had to spend a lot of time actually redesigning products to take the components that we could get, if that makes sense. You couldn't just say, hey, we're going to put this in. You have to say, oh no, we've got this. Redesign the product to use this component because you can get it.
So it looks the same externally, but inside, maybe you're using a different chip or some different electronics because this is what you had available.
Yeah, we had to spend, our engineering team spent a lot of time redesigning current products just to adapt to what was available. But we're pretty well through that now, and we don't hear a lot about component shortages anymore. And the cost doesn't come down as fast as it went up, and that is a challenge, But overall, I think we're through the most of it, and our pricing has become pretty well more stabilized now. We're back to normal price increases,
And you've mentioned that you're manufacturing some of your stuff in Europe and in the UK. And, I know one of the big things that it's important to everyone is sustainability. So I guess that has an impact. You have to ship less, and how does that work?
Yeah, sustainability, obviously as a corporate entity is one of our key strategies is to reduce the cost, to try to be more sustainable. We're looking at trying to fly equipment less, our products less. We're trying to put it on the sea. It's still, not carbon neutral.
At the end, there's volume that needs to be moved.
Yeah, but we're trying not to, air freight stuff because that's, one, it's more expensive, and two, it's less green. We're trying to look at our logistics and say, do we really need to, build equipment in China, ship it to Europe, ship it back to the Middle East or wherever, and try to look at, more sustainable hubs. We're doing simple things even within our factories. We're pretty well in the UK, believe it or not. We're running a lot of the factory off of solar panels now.
Oh wow!
So
you're doing the carbon fiber in the UK, and that's energy intensive.
Yeah, it is. But on most of the summer days,
How many sunny days do you even get in the UK?
One or two. We are in the UK. We have a saying. It's we always like it when summer falls on the weekend.
There you go.
So yeah, and then we're doing the same in Costa Rica. Looking at of trying to go energy efficient where we can. But it is tough because you got to look through your whole supply chain and look at how where are they getting their components from? How green can you be? I wouldn't call it whatever you call it, carbon washing or either way you want. But we do, even within our offices, we support the Rainforest Trust. So every year we try to do a month, where we try to raise funds and try to save some of the rainforest, which is, I think, it's good things to do. You're always going to have carbon at some point, but you've got to be conscious of trying to give back as much as you can. So
and
that's part of our ethos.
At the end, for me as a consumer, it's important for me to know that as a brand, you care about this.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and that's why we're investing. I don't know if you've seen it, but you've seen our Salty Dog battery. And that has just won the NAB Sustainability Award for 2024.
What's the technology inside that makes it sustainable?
It's sodium nickel.
Versus lithium.
Correct. Lithium's a bad product, right? We all know it's bad.
It's bad for the environment, at least.
So, we're looking at moving to sodium where we can. And that
So
is
that's
100%
with
recyclable.
power?
Yeah. So it's 100% recyclable. The battery itself, the cells will last, we think, in the region of 20 years. So again, you're having to buy less, if you like, more recyclable. And
So this is the double benefit, right? You're getting a better product, but it's also less harmful for the environment.
yeah, and like I say, it's 100% recyclable. So we've got when the cells do die, after 20 years, we've got a method of recycling them completely. So it's actually it's an exciting product. It is exciting.
Yeah.
And it's that sodium technology is going to come to a lot of replacing lithium ion all over the place.
Electronic cars, household items. Are you doing this in your own factory?
We're building this Salty Dog in the factory, yes, in
It's
Costa
insane.
Rica.
Wow.
And then we put it on a ship.
Dave, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure doing this interview. And so this is a lightning round. We're just going to do a bunch of quick questions, just shoot from the top of your head.
Right.
So you were born in Edinburgh. If I get one day to spend there, what should I do?
Got to see the castle
Got to see the castle.
and the grass market and the Royal Mile.
That's 2 days. But I will spend 2 days there. If everything goes well, what is the problem that Videdum production division is going to solve in 10 years?
If everything goes well. Well, that's a good question. 10 years. Fishing.
Well, we can do 5 years if that's too far.
I think we're going to solve the biggest thing for us is automation, and being able to repeat reliably the workflow in a studio. And as I was saying, automation is the key to that repeatability.
Okay, and I know in your past you worked for Sony. What do you think is the biggest difference between working for a camera manufacturer than to working for an accessory manufacturer?
The biggest difference, honestly, is you're considered last, right? Everybody looks at the camera and says, yeah, I've got this brand new camera. This is great. I'm going to buy my Sony Burano or Venice. And then they go, oh, I need some accessories. So you're always second place. That's the biggest difference.
Dave, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. It's been a pleasure. And hopefully we'll see you again at IBC.
No, thank you. And have a good show.
Thank you. Everyone stick around. We're going to keep walking the show and bringing you some more news about gear and new innovations. And stay tuned for the next video.